Hello. Sleep is a big issue for a lot of people. And I know myself, when I had fibromyalgia, it was a major problem for me. I really struggled to sleep for a long time. And I think it's particularly difficult because part of the problem with fibromyalgia and other conditions like that is that fatigue is a problem, and then you can't sleep, and it just seems to feed into itself. So I used to not have too much trouble getting to sleep, but I would wake up numerous times during the night and be in a lot of pain and discomfort and unable to get a comfortable position. A lot of pain in my hips and my elbows and my feet, which some of you will heard me talk about my famous feet before. So that was a real problem, and it went on for a long time. And I know for a lot of people that I work with, sleep is a big concern for them because their sleep is really disturbed. Some people like me, they get to sleep okay, and then it's during the night that they find that they waken a lot and can't get back to sleep, or they have trouble getting to sleep in the first place, or sometimes a bit both. So it can be both as well, obviously, as some of you may well know. But I would say it's a very common, it's probably the most common thing, in addition to pain, that people report as being a problem and a concern for them. And obviously sleep is very important. I mean, we know that from a very young age, that everyone's, always asking about sleep, and, from a newborn baby right through the school age and teenagers and adults, we kind of early adulthood, we get away with it a bit more. And then, become parents, sleep can be disturbed. And then the elderly, sleep is important. Obviously, what I'm saying is sleep is important throughout the life cycle, to summarise, rather than waffling on. And at various points in our life, even if we think back to times we didn't have persistent symptoms, there may have been times when our sleep was disturbed. Usually if there's something weighing us, usually if there's something coming up, so maybe it could be a new job, or a house move, or an interview, or you're worried about a relative or someone you care about, or having problems in a relationship or something like that. It's usually something, if there's something preying on our mind as it was, that we would often associate that with having trouble sleeping. And interestingly, if you think, when we have pain and other persistent symptoms, we know from what we've talked about that often the root cause of that is, what keeps things going, is unresolved emotions and unresolved stress that are putting us into that state of hyper alert and hypervigilance. And obviously when we go to sleep, we're in a very vulnerable position. So if our brains and our nervous systems and everything is in hyper vigilant, hyper alert, then going to sleep doesn't really seem like the best idea, because we're very vulnerable in that position. And that's why when we're worried, our brains are working overtime, we're not able to switch off. And again, that's why we don't sleep. So if you can see, there's maybe a wee bit of a link there with what's going on inside, as to what's maybe contributing to our problems with sleep. And people will often say, oh, it's the pain that wakes me up, or it's the pain that disturbs me. And sometimes it is. But what we also know is from a lot of studies is that if we look at people who have chronic pain or other persistent symptoms, and we look at their sleep, then often the sleep disturbances actually happen before the chronic pain or other symptoms are reported. So actually the sleep disturbances can predate the chronic symptoms, which is quite interesting as well. So while we may have acute pain or we're acutely unwell, then yes, those symptoms can waken us at night. More often than not, it's not actually the pain that wakens us during the night when it's chronic symptoms, but it's actually our sleep is disturbed for other reasons. And then when we're awake, we then become aware of the pain. So what can we do about it? That's what we want to know, isn't it? It's all very nice talking about sleep, and that we can relate to problems with sleep, but what we're going to do about it? Well, as we said, a lot of the issues, as we know from all of this work, is around unresolved emotions and hypervigilance. And if we can target that a wee bit by making ourselves feel a wee bit safer, then that can often help. The other important thing is just to take a wee bit of the pressure off. I think, again, we get very conscious that pain is so important. Not pain, sorry, sleep is so important. Pain is important. Sleep is so important. I do apologize. Sleep is so important, as I say, for a very early age. newborn baby, right through life. Oh, how's it sleep? How's it sleeping? How's it sleeping? How are you sleeping? It's important. I mean, it's not to take away from the fact that it is important, but because of that, I think we then put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get a good night's sleep. And when we don't, when we think, it's a disaster, this is going to happen, how am I going to cope? How am I going to function? And when we make it into a high pressured situation, and then I have to get a good night's sleep. Like tonight, I've got to go to bed, I've got to get a good night's sleep, and I've got to get sorted. Otherwise, how am I going to manage? Otherwise, it's going to be awful. Otherwise, this is going to happen. So we're putting pressure on ourselves to get it right, which we've talked about before. And we're then saying, if it doesn't happen, there's going to be a drastic consequence as well. So the pressure is up again. And as we say, obviously sleep is important. And we know it's important not only just to have a good day, to feel good, to be able to function, but we know longer term it has implications for overall health if we don't have a good sleep pattern. So it is an important factor. But worrying about it and putting this pressure on ourselves clearly doesn't help, as it doesn't with anything. Putting pressure on something to get it right tends to make it more difficult, particularly for things like sleep, where you're trying to switch off. So if you imagine we've got that pressure, we've got the worry of what happens if we don't get a good sleep, we've got the fact that we've maybe had a period of poor sleep, so we're predicting that it's going to be difficult for us. We know that things seem much worse in the middle of the night. We know that anyway, even for most of us, if something happens in the middle of the night, it's much worse. Then it seems much more significant, much harder to sort things out than it does during the day, and that's the case for anything. So our brains are working overtime when we wake up. We're going through all these situations. If we then associate the pain being present during the night, again, the pain seems then, and other symptoms seem to be worse during the night. Like we just said, everything seems to be worse in the middle of the night than it is in the cold light of day. So there's a lot hanging on that there. So we go to bed rather than in this state of, I'm ready to go and relax and be refreshed. And at the end of my day and start to get refreshed the next day, we go to bed and here we go again. Oh no, all this, the tension and anxiety is already there. Just as we approach the urge of going to bed. And I know myself, when I had fibromyalgia, that was the case. I was so exhausted. All I wanted to do was go to bed and sleep. But at the same time, I was dreading it. I really didn't want to do it because the thought of what was going to, the disturbed sleep, the pain, the restlessness, just the thought of going through it all again every night made me not really want to go. But on the other hand, I was absolutely exhausted and needed to rest. So it's a very tricky situation. So like everything, I don't have a magic wand to fix it for you, unfortunately, but a couple of things that can help. And we've talked before about Dr. Schubiner, and he has lots of useful tips and tricks for us. And he has a nice one for sleep, which I often suggest to people that I'm working with. And it's basically around having a wee chat with yourself before you go to bed. A wee chat to your brain to say, look, I'm going to bed now and I'm going to sleep. If you decide to wake me up, so be it, but we're not going to sort anything out overnight. We're not going to sort out anything that's going on. So we're just going to park it till the morning. So wake me up if you want. If I wake up, I'll wake up, so be it. But we're not going to solve anything, so may as well just wait until the morning. So you're not giving yourself into trouble. You're not putting pressure on yourself. You're saying, well, if I wake up, I'll wake up, so be it. But there's no point because I'm not going to be able to sort anything out. And it's just having that wee kind of chat. Again, you think a lot of times when we're talking, we talk about how you would talk to a youngish child about what you're going to do. So you're not giving it into trouble. You're not giving it around saying, you will stay in your bed and you will not wake up. We're not doing that. And either we're saying, oh, it's fine, and just you get up if you want. We're not saying that either. We're saying, look, if you wake up, so be it. But we're not going to be able to do anything. We're not going to have a good time. We're not going to sort anything out. We're going to solve any problems. So there's not really any point. Okay, so may as well just park that until the morning and we'll deal with whatever comes up then. So that's the first wee thing that's often worth just having a wee chat with yourself, if you can, to try and take that pressure off a wee bit. And another good thing to do just before you go to bed, similarly, is either to jot down anything that's worried you during the day. So it doesn't need to be a formal journaling session. You could just do a wee short, if there's been a couple of things that come up, my hip pain was really bad today, or I was really upset by that person that didn't understand that I was struggling, or I was so annoyed that I spilt the milk all over the table, or whatever it might, it could be anything like that that's maybe worried you during the day, and you're just getting it out. And Or alternatively, you could write down a couple of things that you're going to deal with the next day. So the next day, maybe you're going to make sure that you clean the bathroom, or you have to return that email that you've not sent, or you must phone your mother, or whatever it is. You're going to, things that might otherwise play on your mind. You're just going to jot them down before you go to bed. And sometimes even having a notepad next to your bed, if you do happen to wake up during the night and there's anything going on, you could just jot them down. And that's obviously better than going on your phone, which has got all the light and stuff. So you could do the phone thing. So that's just a couple of wee techniques. And obviously the whole thing around sleep and sleep hygiene and like that relating to phones, not using for the blue light and all that kind of have you, and having a good routine and blah, blah. So that's all there as well. The thing is that most people with chronic period persistent symptoms have quite a routine in place for going to bed. It's often a bit of a palaver, and there's lots of things that go into trying to make things more comfortable. So actually trying to break that routine can often be a good thing as well, because often that's reinforcing the pattern. But these simple techniques of having a wee chat to your brain and saying, we're not going to sort anything else out during the night anyway, so you may as well just park it. Writing down anything that's worried you during the day. Writing down anything that you want to be sure and remember to do the following day, and having a notepad by your bed in case you do wake up, and you can jot down anything that's going around in your head just to get it out. So say it's not a magic cure, but it's all about just about, if you think everything we've talked about, it's about dialing down the pressure, dialing down the intensity, just trying to take a wee bit of pressure off, because sleep is important. It is important to get your rest, but the more you worry about it and the more you put pressure on yourself, the harder it's going to be. Okay, so I hope that covers a few things. I said, we could talk about sleep for hours, and if you want to go into sleep a bit more, that's certainly another video I could do, talking more about the the kind of physiology of sleep and why it's important and all that kind of what's going on in different stages. We can certainly talk about that. But this one was really just to give a wee introduction that it is an issue for lots of people, so that you don't feel you're alone if you're struggling with your sleep, and just a couple of wee top tips to have a go with it and see if that makes any difference. Okay, as always, I'd love to hear from you, so let me know how you're doing, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.